صلوا على الحبيب صلى الله تعالى على محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين. أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. सारे इंशाअल्लाह इतिकाफ की नियत कर लेते हैं। नवैतु सुन्नतल इतिकाफ। सूरह बुरी शरीफ की तिलावत सुनने की और करने की सआदत हासिल करते हैं इंशाअल्लाह। It is reported by Sayyidina Abu Huraira radiyallahu ta'ala anhu that the Prophet of Rahmah, the intercessor of the Ummah, the owner of Jannah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, has stated, without doubt there is a surah in the Holy Quran consisting of 30 verses which will continue to intercede for its reciter until he is forgiven. And that surah is Tabarak Allazi biyadihil mulk. So with the same intention, inshallah, to gain the same blessings, inshallah, we'll listen to the recitation of Surah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. تبارك الذي بيده الملك وهو على كل شيء قدير. الذي خلق الموت والحياة ليبلوكم أيكم أحسن عملا وهو العزيز الغفور. الذي خلق 7 سماوات طباقا ما ترى في خلق الرحمن من تفاوت فارجع البصر هل ترى من فطور ثم ارجع البصر كرتين ينقلب إليك البصر خاسئا وهو حسير. ولقد زينا السماء الدنيا بمصابيح وجعلناها رجوما للشياطين وأعتدنا لهم عذاب السعير. وللذين كفروا بربهم عذاب جهنم وبئس المصير. إذا ألقوا فيها سمعوا لها شهيقا وهي تفور تكاد تميز من الغيظ كلما ألقي فيها فوج سألهم خزنتها ألم يأتكم نذير قالوا بلى قد جاءنا نذير فكذبنا وقلنا ما نزل الله من شيء إن أنتم إلا في ضلال كبير. وقالوا لو كنا نسمع أو نعقل ما كنا في أصحاب السعير فاعترفوا بذنبهم فسحقا لأصحاب السعير. إن الذين يخشون ربهم بالغيب لهم مغفرة وأجر كبير. وأسروا قولكم أو اجهروا به إنه عليم بذات الصدور. ألا يعلم من خلق وهو اللطيف الخبير. هو الذي جعل لكم الأرض ذلولا فامشوا في مناكبها وكلوا من رزقه وإليه النشور. أأمنتم من في السماء أن يخسف بكم الأرض فإذا هي تمور أم أمنتم من في السماء أن يرسل عليكم حاصبا فستعلمون كيف نذير. ولقد كذب الذين من قبلهم فكيف كان نكير. أولم يروا إلى الطير فوقهم صافات ويقبضن ما يمسكهن إلا الرحمن إنه بكل شيء بصير. أمن هذا الذي هو جند لكم ينصركم من دون الرحمن إن الكافرون إلا في غرور. أمن هذا الذي يرزقكم إن أمسك رزقه بل لجوا في عتو ونفور أفمن يمشي مكبا على وجهه أهدى أمن يمشي سويا على صراط مستقيم قل هو الذي أنشأكم وجعل لكم السمع والأبصار والأفئدة قليلا ما تشكرون قل هو الذي ذرأكم في الأرض وإليه تحشرون ويقولون متى هذا الوعد إن كنتم صادقين قل إنما العلم عند الله وإنما أنا نذير مبين فلما رأوه زلفة سيئت وجوه الذين كفروا وقيل هذا الذي كنتم به تدعون قل أرأيتم إن أهلكني الله ومن معي أو رحمنا فمن يجير الكافرين من عذاب أليم قل هو الرحمن آمنا به وعليه توكلنا فستعلمون من هو في ضلال مبين قل أرأيتم إن أصبح ماؤكم غورا فمن يأتيكم بماء معين الله رب العالمين صدق الله العظيم صلوا على الحبيب صلى الله على محمد صلى الله عليه वसल्लम करीब आ जाए दर्स में इंशाल्लाह करीब आ जाए इल्म दीन सीखने की नीयत से इंशाल्लाह करीब आ जाए
Sallu ala al-Habib.
Sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad.
But just like brothers, before the talk starts, inshallah, we'd like to make some good intentions as we do every week. And firstly, as the brothers requested, try to come closer together. Try to come closer together with this intention that when the Prophet ﷺ would give dars to the Sahaba Kiram, they would sit very close together. Those of you that have visited Madina Munawwara, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the Prophet ﷺ called us there many times, you see a small area behind the Jari Mubarak, very small area, probably no bigger than this room, but it's reported by scholars that at one time, this was the area where the Sahaba Kiram would take dars from the Prophet ﷺ, they would learn. And the scholars say at one time up to 300 Sahaba Kiram sat in this area. And in another narration, the scholars state that the closer you sit together in gatherings of knowledge, it builds love between brothers. So try to come closer together, try to make all the good intentions, that you're going to try to listen attentively. If there's anything that you like, try to make a note of it, share it with your families, and most of all, try to act upon this knowledge. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give me the ability to speak the truth. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give you the ability to listen to the truth. Ameen bijahi nabi al-Amin sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Please repeat after me. الصلاة والسلام عليك يا رسول الله. الصلاة والسلام عليك يا حبيب الله. الصلاة والسلام عليك يا نبي الله. وعلى آلك وأصحابك يا نور الله. نويت سنة الاعتكاف. There are many blessings of reciting Durood Pak, sending praise and salutations upon Allah's beloved creation and best creation, the Prophet ﷺ. In one such hadith it states that the one who recites Durood Pak regularly, this will erase poverty for him and hunger. Yani his sustenance will increase. Sallu ala al-Habib. Recently, as close as last week, alhamdulillah, around the world, the Muslims celebrated Eid al-Adha. And during this time, we hear regularly the story of Sayyidina Ibrahim and Sayyidina Ismail alayhi salam. And their conversation about the sacrificing of Sayyidina Ismail alayhi salam is mentioned in the Quran. I'm going to go through some of the ayahs that I mentioned, not for the reason of sacrifice. You may have heard this in a Bayaan last week or the week before, but inshallah today's talk, the few moments that we have, are going to be focused towards tarbiyat-e-awlad. Our children, it's a big problem that we have in our society today, doing the tarbiyat of our children, how we should be educating them, how we should be giving them time, and how we should be trying to bring them up in this time of fitna and this time of many challenges. Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam, as you'll be aware, when he saw a dream that he's sacrificing his son, Sayyidina Ismail alayhi salam. And when he woke up, he discussed this with his son, Sayyidina Ismail alayhi salam. He said to him, and the ayat of the Quran goes, "Fanzur madha tara." What are your thoughts? What should I do? I saw this in my dream that Allah has commanded me and I'm sacrificing him. What should I do? And Sayyidina Ismail alayhi salam, he replied, "Qala ya abati fa'al ma tu'mar." Qala ya abati fa'al ma tu'mar. He said, "Oh my dear father, why are you asking me? Oh my dear father, why are you asking me? Whatever the command is, carry that out. Whatever Allah Azza wa Jal has commanded you, then do that. Who am I to come between you and the command of your Lord?" This was the reply of Sayyidina Ismail alayhi salam. Then he goes on to say, "Satajiduni insha'Allahu ma'as sabirin." If Allah wills, you will find me amongst the people of sabr. Now there's many lessons as parents that we can learn from this. These lessons are that look at the trust between father and son. Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam has been commanded such a big thing, to sacrifice his son. And there's so much trust, there's so much love, there's the ability to converse. This is very important. The ability to be able to have a conversation with your child. Never mind what the topic is. The topic is about slaughtering his son, yet he's able to talk to him. The respect from a son to a father, and the respect from a father to a son. Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam is saying to Sayyidina Ismail alayhi salam that this is what I've been commanded. But yet Sayyidina Ismail alayhi salam, look at the way he addresses his father. He still says, "Oh my beloved father." Regardless of what they're talking about, his addressing is still the same. Whether it was that of khushi or whether it was that of a difficult moment, something that was a challenge, he still addresses him in the same way, "Oh my beloved father." So the lessons we have here is that we should always talk to our children, give them that respect that before we make a major decision, they have a right to give us their opinion as well. This is what Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam is teaching us. And what Sayyidina Ismail alayhi salam is teaching us, that the maqam of your parents, the maqam of your father is such that regardless of what they are talking about, you should still address them with respect. And Allama Iqbal, he encapsulates these ayats of the Quran in a sher. He says, "Ye Faizan nazar tha, ya ke maktab ki karamat thi, sikhaye kisne Ismail ko adab farzandi." He says the result of this tarbiyat, it wasn't a coincidence, it wasn't a fluke, it wasn't by accident. This response from his son and this acceptance of Allah's command was the tarbiyat that he gave him, was the dua that he did for him, was the effort that he put in with him. It was no accident, it was no mistake. And we see this respect. What's important, the first point I want to make today, is mutual respect. If you want respect from your children, it's important to give respect. Respect is not only one way. Often in the talks of Dawat-E-Islami and other talks that we may go to, we hear many talks about the rights of parents. And of course we should, because in our lives there's nobody more important than our parents. But today we want to focus on our rights to our children as well. And they do have rights. And what we learn from this waqia and other places in the Quran is to gain respect, you must give respect. We see this between Sayyidina Yaqub alayhi salam and Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam as well. Another father and son who were both prophets. In the Quran, when Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam, he addresses his father, he says, "Ya abati," again, "Oh my beloved father." But what's beautiful to see is that when the father addresses the son, what does he say? He says, "Ya bunayya," "Oh my dear child." Look at the mutual respect. There's mutual respect between father and son. And this helps towards a good upbringing. And how can we how can we implement this into today? There's many ways we can do so. If it's in conversation, you know, Buzurg like Amir al-Sunnat, they encourage us to speak beautiful languages with our children, such as Urdu. You know, the Urdu language, our scholars teach us that it's a beautiful language. Why? If you implement these teachings from the Quran, you know, make them relevant to our lives. You know, if you talk to your son in Urdu or your daughter in Urdu, you'll say, "Aap kaise hain?" This is beautiful, it's respectful. You're saying "aap" to your child. Tomorrow they will refer to you in the same way. When you're in your old age, they'll say "aap kaise hain?" But if you look at Punjabi or if you look at English, they're slightly more rough languages. They're more harsher. The words in Urdu and even more so in Arabic are more beautiful. So if we teach them from a young age to speak beautifully, this is going to benefit us, it's going to benefit their character. Similarly, we see from the life of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Sayyidah Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, she reports that from a young age, when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam's daughter, Sayyidah Fatima radiallahu ta'ala anha, when she would enter the room, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam would stand up and offer her their seat from a young age. So there's no secret that when she grew older, when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam would enter, she would stand up and offer her seat to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Again, this is tarbiyat through actions. But Islam brothers, children are a blessing for us. Children are a blessing. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and other Anbiya Kiram, they did dua for children. They did dua for other people that they are blessed with children. Sayyidina Anas radiallahu ta'ala anhu, the Ravi of many a hadith, when he was an infant, his mother took him to the court of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and she asked the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to do dua for him. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the dua he gave for Sayyidina Anas was, "O Allah, bless him with wealth in abundance." Hadith from Bukhari Sharif. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam's dua for this child was, "O Allah, bless him with wealth in abundance and children." So we see that children are a blessing. And Islam has placed responsibility on the shoulders of everybody, none more so than parents of children. We have a huge responsibility towards our children. We're responsible for giving them a good upbringing, which most importantly entails a good Islamic education. This is the right of our children, giving them a good Islamic education. But if the upbringing of a child is neglected, the results can be disastrous. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, "O you who believe, save yourself and your families from the fire that is fueled by men and stones." It's a direct hukum by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to save yourselves and your families. And how are you going to save your families? Is through tarbiyat. It's through giving them a good education, leading them by example. One day a man, he came to the court of Amir al-Mu'mineen at the time, Sayyidina Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu ta'ala anhu, and he began to complain about his son. He said to Sayyidina Umar that he doesn't respect me, he shouts at me, he swears at me. Sayyidina Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he immediately called for this child, he called for this young boy, and Sayyidina Umar said to him, "Your father is complaining about you." And this young boy, he said to Amir al-Mu'mineen, he said that, "Do I not have any rights from my father? As a child, should I not have any rights?" And Sayyidina Umar said, "Of course you have rights." And he started to list these rights. He started off by saying that when you were born, it's the right of your parents to give you a good name. Sayyidina Umar continues, he says that when you are in your infancy, it's the right of your parents to teach you Quran, teach you the Kalam of Allah. And later, as you grow into your teens and you're ready to marry, it's the right for your father to find a good spouse. Before you were born, he should have found a good spouse for himself. And Sayyidina Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he was continuing with the list of these rights. But this young boy, he stopped him there. He said, "Just these three that you have mentioned, my father has failed on these." He says that when he got married himself, he married somebody off the street who had a bad record. Secondly, he gave me a bad name. And thirdly, he never learned the Quran himself and he never taught it to me. And Sayyidina Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, upon hearing this, straight away he told the man off. He said, "Today the result of your son's disrespect towards you is because of how you have brought him up. Today this is your fault." And Sayyidina Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he only mentioned 3 rights of a child. Allah Hazrat in one of his books, he mentions up to 90 rights that a child has. 90 rights that a parent should be providing for his child. Sayyidina Umar only mentioned 3, and this child stopped Sayyidina Umar there and said, my father hasn't even given me these 3. What we learn from this is that the tarbiyat that you give your children is going to shape their character. It's going to shape who they are. How they're going to turn out is the lessons that you have given them, the education you have given them. And what's important is, if you want to give your children a high chance of succeeding in this dunya where we have so much fitna, what's important is that both husband and wife, both parents, they've got to take on a sense of responsibility. We have to take on responsibility if you want to give a good chance to that child of succeeding. Your time spent with your children is an act of worship. We're going to come on to time because this is the biggest need of today. Spending time with your children, spending quality time. But something where we fall today is giving preference to others. How can we give preference to our friends over our children? Our children are the ones that are going to represent us. Our children are the ones that are going to carry our lineage forward. They're the ones that can benefit us when we're gone. Tomorrow when you pass away in your grave, it's your children who can benefit you. How can we give preference to our friends over our children? How can we give preference to our business over our children? Brothers work 6 days a week, sometimes 7 days a week. What time are we giving to our children? The ones who need us the most. At that tender age of 3, 4, 5, 6, you are their role model. You're the one that they're going to be looking up to. What time are we giving them? How can we give, preference to social media over our children? If you look in our week, just look in your day, how much time you spend on WhatsApp and Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. In some cases, we'll be giving more time to these social media applications than we give to our children. How can we be doing this? Then we cannot be surprised that tomorrow if they turn out in a way that we didn't like, we can't blame anybody else for this. We need to analyze our own timetable, analyze our day. How much time is going to our children? The children are the most important thing for you. And again, coming back to the bond of the parents, the relationship between mother and father is very important for that to be strong. If you have a disagreement with your wife, the mother of your children, quarreling in front of the children, it's teaching them lessons. They're learning without you saying anything to them. If you're shouting and swearing at your missus, the mother of your children, you're teaching your son that it's okay to disrespect a woman. Similarly, a woman, if she's been disrespectful to her husband, if there's a daughter in that house, tomorrow she's going to go to somebody's house. What is she learning? That it's okay to shout back at your husband, swear back at your husband, reply to your husband with disrespect. This is what these kids are learning because you're showing them in front of their eyes. So if you have a disagreement, it's important that you don't let the children know. Disagreements are going to be natural. There's not going to be one household where there's no disagreements. What's important though is you think about the betterment of the child's education. What are they learning from this? What are they learning when they see this? Also, a husband and wife, they need to be consistent in their approach. You need to share the same messages with your children. The tariqah of your tarbiyat needs to be consistent. It needs to be similar. You cannot be giving one message and your wife's giving another message because the child's going to get confused. And when they're looking for security, when they're looking for comfort, if their father's giving one message and their mother's giving a separate message, they're going to find comfort outside the home. This is when they're going to get involved in the wrong crowds because they're not seeing comfort at home. A small example of this, you can use any example, but for example, if it's a really petty example, but hopefully it'll get you thinking on the right lines. If a mother is holding back sweets from a child because she doesn't want their teeth to go bad, a father cannot just come every day and say, here's your sweets, but come and play with me now after work. Just to get his attention. Because this is mixed messages. You're not doing justice for your wife there. You're not doing justice for the mother of the children there. She's trying so hard to discipline them, and you're coming and you're wasting all that just because you want to spend that 5 minutes with them. So we need to be consistent in our tarbiyat. And what's important is, if you think, when you return from work after a long day from your business or from your employment, wherever you came from, having a short temper with your children or your spouse, this will affect their upbringing. They will hide from you. If you come back from a hard day at work and you're always shouting and You're telling them to get out of the way. You know, I've had a long day at work, 10, 11 hours. Let me come and watch some TV. Let me have my food. This is going to have an effect on them. Because when they see this every day, they're going to run from you. They're not going to come close to you. And remember, my dear Islam brothers, the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ states that we'll be accountable. We'll be held accountable for our families, for our misses, our children. You know, we will be held accountable for rizq-e-halal also. We'll be questioned about how we earn our rizq. But how many targets you had to hit in that day, how your team performed. If your character is good, you will only be questioned if the rizq is halal. How your day went will not be of concern. But neglecting your wife and your children is more important than how your day went at work. It's more important than how your business is running. And coming home and showing them temper, showing them anger all the time, this is going to have a negative effect on them. The Prophet ﷺ said in a hadith that every one of you is a shepherd and is responsible for his flock. The leader of people is a guardian and is responsible for his subjects. A man is the guardian of his family and he is responsible for them. A woman is the guardian of her husband's home and his children, and she is responsible for them. So we will be questioned about these things. These things are the most important things. We cannot mix this up with work or friends, socializing. This is what we're going to be questioned for. And remember, the time that you give to your children to help make them pious, help give them a good upbringing, this is going to benefit you ultimately. It's not going to benefit anybody else. The Prophet ﷺ said that it's important you teach your children good manners. In the hadith it states, no father has given his child a gift that is better than good manners. And Mufti Ahmad Yar Khan Naimi, rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhi, he says, what is good manners? Good manners is teaching your children Islam. If you teach them Islam, if you teach them the deen, this is good manners. The deen will teach them good manners. And he goes on to say in one of his books that parents should not only make their children rich before they depart. We see this. You know, if you've got 2 children, your focus is that I must have 2 houses cashed before I leave this dunya to make it easy for my children. They've got 1 house each. Life will be easy for them. No mortgage, no trouble. But Mufti Ahmad Yar Khan Naimi, he draws our attention to giving them a good tarbiyat, giving them a good Islamic education. Tomorrow when you're not here, are they going to do Isali Thawab for you? Are they going to pray for you? Are they going to benefit you in the grave? They're one of only 3 things that will be able to benefit you in your grave. The hadith of the Prophet ﷺ states that when a person has passed away, the 3 things that will benefit him, firstly is Sadaqah Jariyah, permanent source of divine reward. Secondly, the knowledge of which benefit can be obtained from. For example, if you wrote a book, if you did a talk which has been shared on media. And the third thing is righteous children who will make dua for him, who will pray for him. Now, they will only pray for you if you taught them. What you have taught them is what they'll do. And it's important that we teach them this through our actions. Because actions are what ultimately will show them the right path. Telling them one thing and doing another thing is not going to help them. We have to sacrifice ourselves. The other thing you can do, my dear Islam brothers, to help the upbringing of your children is dua for them. You know, dua is the weapon of a believer. Dua, it can change their destiny. It can change what's written for them. The Prophet ﷺ said in a hadith that there's no doubt in the acceptance of 3 du'as. Dua of an oppressed person, somebody that's Mazloom. Dua of a traveller, a musafir. And dua of a parent for his child. Walidain dua. A parent's dua is very powerful. Do dua for them. Don't lose hope. We should never lose hope with our children. Doing dua for them is very, very important. Who are we to lose hope? You know, there's prophets. You know, for example, we mentioned Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam. His father was a prophet as well, Sayyidina Yaqub alayhi salam. Sayyidina Yaqub alayhi salam had many children. You know, the prophets are known for their fairness, their decision making. But one of his sons was a prophet. The other sons lived a life of sin. Allah knows best if they repented. But the outcome of their, you know, the way they lived their life was very different. But Sayyidina Yaqub alayhi salam will have done dua for them. So who are we to lose hope? Don't lose hope on your children. Do make constant dua for them. Famous waqia of Sayyidina Bayezid Bastami rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhi. A lot of you will be aware of it. It's mentioned in the ijtimas regularly. his mother asked for some water, and Sayyidina Bayaan, he bought the water. She was ill, and by the time he bought the water and came back, she had fallen asleep. But he didn't want to disturb her, he didn't want to wake her up. So he stood there with the water all night. He stood there out of respect for his mother with the water all night. In the morning when she woke up and she saw him, she asked him, have you been here all night? He said, yes, you requested water, I bought the water, I didn't want to disturb you. And his mother gave him dua at that point. His mother gave this dua, and she made dua that, Ya Allah, make him from amongst the pious people. Make him one of your friends. And he went on to become one of the greatest walis of that time, through the dua of his mother. So give your children your duas. This is the least we can do. You know, what they're up to, whether they're up to good, whether they're up to bad, we've had a role to play in this. If they're up to no good, the one thing we can't do today is dua. You can't do dua for them. The prophets made dua for their children, and there's evidence of this in the Quran. If the prophets are doing dua for them, then surely we should. Sayyidina Zakaria, the Prophet Zakaria, his dua is in the Quran, in Surah Ali Imran. It says, Rabbi habli min ladunka zurriyatan tayyibatan innaka sami'ud dua. My Lord, grant me from you a good offspring. You are the hero of all prayers. Sayyidina Zakaria is asking, the Prophet Zakaria is asking for good offspring. He's doing dua for neck children. So if prophets of Allah are doing this, then surely we should be doing this as well. Another important aspect of parenting and tarbiyat of children is not giving unnecessary love. You know, there's no doubt that we love our children. Our lives are sacrificed for them. You know, we don't eat well ourselves, we give for them. We save up and what we go against our desires and we provide for them. Clothes that we don't wear, we buy for them. You know, maybe, you know, today we see young lads driving flash cars. Our parents didn't drive them cars. They sacrifice for us and they give to us. There's no doubt about our love. But when a child is young, when a child is small, unfair, unnecessary love is very risky. You know, we shouldn't, this causes bad habits. You know, giving too much lard, they say in our language, both lard and doing this, it causes bad habits, because what happens from a small petty thing such as sweets or watching cartoons, the habits change. And they get to a stage where if they don't get what they want, they cry. And they know that once they cry, they'll get what they ask for. And this makes them stubborn. So it's very, very important to strike a balance. You know, a child must be taught that when you say yes, it's a yes. But when you say no, it's a no, regardless of what they're asking for. And you should practice this. You should proactively practice this. Take your children to a shop and sometimes buy them what they want. Sometimes intentionally don't buy them what they want. Why? To teach them. Sometimes you will get what you want, sometimes you don't get what you want. Today, you know, this lad, we don't like to see them cry, we don't like to see them make a face. But this face, it goes from a little sweet to where does it go to? Where they don't listen to us. They don't respect us. So proactively teach them this. A yes is a yes, a no is a no. The Prophet ﷺ, he showed us in his life, because he was the greatest at everything. Whether it was tarbiyat, whether it was character, whatever it was, the Prophet ﷺ is the best example. And he showed us, if you read his seerah, the Prophet ﷺ, he would be firm with children when he needed to. But at the same time, he was known for his compassion, his love, his care towards children. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. As we know, Sayyids, they can't accept sadaqah. Sayyids, they shouldn't accept sadaqah. One day a man, he gave a kajur, he gave a date to Imam Hussein when he was a child, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. And he put it in his mouth. And when the Prophet ﷺ saw this, with firmness, you could say with sakhti, not to use a word of disrespect, with firmness, the Prophet ﷺ, he removed it from his mouth. But he was strict when he needed to be. He showed this strictness. He showed this sakhti. And, you know, when it comes to love and compassion, we've all heard the famous story when the Prophet ﷺ, he was leading prayer with the Sahaba-i-Kiram. The Prophet ﷺ is doing Jamaat and the Sahaba-i-Kiram are reading behind him. Sayyidina Imam Hussein, sometimes Sayyidina Imam Hassan would come and they'd climb on the shoulders of the Prophet ﷺ when he went in sajda. One day the Sahaba-i-Kiram, after namaz, they asked the Prophet ﷺ, today the sujood was very long. The sujood was extended To such an extent that one of the Sahaba Kiram even looked up to see if everything's okay. He saw the Prophet ﷺ in sajda and he went back down. They asked, was there any revelation? Was there any khas, was it a khas moment? Was it a special moment? What was this? The Prophet ﷺ explained that my beloved grandson was on my back. I didn't wish to disturb him. He was enjoying the ride. I didn't want to disturb him. This is a lesson for us, my dear Islam brothers. We need to get rid of this rigidity. Being so rigid, being so strict, do's and don'ts, don't do this, do this. They're only children. They want to learn, they want to play, they want to laugh. The Prophet ﷺ did this with children. Sayyidina Abbas, he explains that he had 3 children. When the Prophet ﷺ would see these 3 children, he would have a race with them. And whoever won the race, he would reward them. He would give them inam. What you see from the Prophet ﷺ here, he's having fun with the children. He's striking the balance of seriousness, strictness, and fun and enjoyment. There's nothing wrong with this. And we must learn from this. If a child comes on your musalla and disturbs you in namaz, at least he's around you. At least he's understanding what namaz is. He knows what a musalla is. If we shout at him, if we tell him off, the next time you pray, he's not going to come near you. Is this the desired result? This is not the desired result. There's a Turkish proverb in Turkey, they write it in their masjids, in the entrances. It says that during the congregation, Jamaat ke Duran, if you cannot hear the children playing, then know that the ummah is in difficulty. You are going to experience problems if you cannot hear the children playing. Why? Because they're not in the congregation. They're not coming to the masjid. Tomorrow these kids are going to grow up. This is a problem if they're not in the congregation. If you can hear them at the back playing, laughing, messing about, at least they're in the masjid. They're getting brought up in the masjid. And again, a message to our elders, to us as individuals, when children are in the masjid, if they're messing about, if they've dirtied the carpet, it's not the end of the world. It's a child. He's going to make mistakes. It's our job to teach them with love and compassion, not always with beating and shouting and telling off. This will put them off the masjid. So it's important striking that balance between love and compassion, but being strict when you need to, being firm when you need to. This is also important. A child is a blank canvas. It's like a painting. You can make whatever you want, because when they're young, you are their role model. You are the one that they will come to. You are the one that they're looking for guidance. Their elder brothers, their mother, their father. You are the one that will guide them into whatever they want to go and do. You will influence their decisions. So it's up to you. And on this compassion, love and care point, this builds trust. A modern day scientist, he says that, in communication, he has a rule. This modern day scientist is not Muslim, but what he says reflects the life of the Prophet ﷺ. And for us, that is the best example. What the scientist says is, there's a 7, 38 and 55% rule. Remember these numbers, 7, 38 and 55. He says when you communicate with anybody, the words only account for 7%. The tone of your voice accounts for 38%, and your body language accounts for 55%. Yani what you're telling them, they're not even listening to. The way you're telling them is important. Now when we look at the life of the Prophet ﷺ, what do we see? Speaking gentle, speaking with compassion, speaking with love, speaking with care. The Prophet ﷺ taught us this, not this modern day scientist, but this modern day scientist has highlighted a good point for us, that if you want to give them nasihat, if you want to give them tarbiyat, show them love, show them care, show them gentleness. If you're trying to teach them with shouting and swearing, according to this survey, the chances of them listening to you is very negative. And a true parent, whether it be a father or a mother, he will understand the psychology of his child, because he'll spend a lot of time with him. He knows how to deal with them. A good parent will be close to his child. He'll do activities with them in accordance with their age. If they're small, they'll want to play. So play with them in that age. He will praise them. He will tell them words of love and care, because all this will build trust and it will build genuine obedience. When you spend this time with them, when you bond with them, when you engage with them, they will truly respect you then. Why? Because they feel loved. They feel cared for. Whereas the opposite to this is being harsh to them, shouting at them, telling them off. Then they may still respect you, but this is very shallow respect. It's out of fear. It's out of fear of violence and cruelty. This is not from the heart. True respect for elders is when a child has been loved, a child has been cared for. You look at a student will respect an ustad when he feels that ustad has given him time. Ustad has sacrificed for him. You know, if a ustad just beats his children all the time, them children that grow up, only a very small percentage of them will respect the ustad. Most of them will hide from him, they'll run from him. Sallu ala al-Habib. So you need to take this myth away that, you know, coming down to the level of your children, this will take away your authority. This is a myth that, you know, people believe in. If you act childish with them, they won't respect you. You know, you're supposed to be Abu, you're supposed to be father. Father doesn't play with you. This is wrong. You know, take the example of Sayyidina Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, Amir al-Mu'mineen. If you read his biography, generally the ulama say, the scholars say, very firm individual, commander-in-chief. You know, Sayyidina Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, they say that when he would walk on a path, the shaitan was scared of him. The shaitan would not dare to cross the same path as Sayyidina Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu. This is how firm he was. And when he accepted Islam, in fact, Sayyidina Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, many scholars say that he was the 40th Muslim. At that time, the Muslims would practice in hiding. They were scared to practice it. They didn't, through hikmah, through wisdom, not that they were scared, through wisdom, they didn't practice in the open. When Sayyidina Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu accepted Islam, he came out and he said, we're going to practice in the open. Who's going to stop us? This was his character. This is how much people were scared of him. Yet when it comes to tarbiyat of children, the Sahaba Kiram reported that Sayyidina Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he would become a child with his children. He would become a baby with his baby. He would become a kid with his kid. He would show them love, he would play with them. This is Amir al-Mu'mineen. So my dear friends, we need to get rid of this myth that coming down to the level will take away our authority. It doesn't take away our authority at all. A good parent also will be alert of everything. You know, keep a watchful eye on your children. For example, behavior. You know, what is your child's behavior changing? You know, when they start secondary school or when they start college, has their behavior changed? Has their pattern of you know, time spent at home, is it changing? Where are they associating? Who are their friends? Do you know your child's friends? You should know the parents of your child's friends. You should associate with them. You should speak to them regularly. Because whoever he's associating with, they're going to influence him. They're gonna influence him. And children are going to influence your child. So it's important for you to know who your children spends time with. And a good parent will know this. Incentivize your children also. You know, set them targets, just like we do in the dunya. When they go to school and they have targets to achieve, we set them incentives. We say, you know, if you complete this, you complete your SATs, complete your GCSEs, if you pass this many results, we'll get you this. This should be the same in Deen as well. This should be the same in their character as well. When we're giving them an Islamic education. The famous story of Baba Farid, Ganje Shakir, Rahmatullahi Ta'ala alayhi. Many of you will know this story. You know, when he was a child, his mum, he's known as Baba Farid Ganje Shakir. Because shakir is sugar. And in them days, sugar is like sweets today. It was like sweets today. And his mum, what she would do is, she would say is, you read salah and sugar will appear under your prayer mat. So when he was reading, she would put sugar under his prayer mat. Every time he would read, he would get excited. When he finished, he'd have the sugar. One day she was in town, she forgot to put the sugar under the mat. She did dua, she said, Ya Allah, I used to put this so he would build a keenness to pray. And today, I leave it upon you. That day when he lifted the mat, when his mother forgot, the whole mat was covered with sugar. And this man who played namaz in his early years, his mother incentivizing him. He went on to become a wali, he had khas karam. But this was his mother, this tabiyat which he showed, incentivize them, treat them towards good. Pray your salah and we'll treat you. Also, it's important to be fair to your children. Don't discriminate between your children. You know, unfortunately in our tradition, there's this bad mentality about girls and boys. You know, if a boy's born, there's extreme khushi. If a girl's born, you know, there's some sort of sadness. Some people, they give mitai out in their locality when a boy's born, yet they don't do it when a girl's born. We need to be worried about this. The Prophet ﷺ did not discriminate between girls and boys. The Prophet ﷺ said, whoever has 3 daughters and is patient with them, he gives them food and drink, he clothes them from his earnings, they will act as a shield for him on the Day of Judgment. This is the maqam of a daughter. So don't discriminate between your children. And spending on your children, wealth, money, we shouldn't have this mentality that when we go out with our friends, we can go to many restaurants and eat. But yet when it comes to our family, when it comes to our children, we keep our pocket tight. This is wrong. Spending on your family is better than charity. The Prophet ﷺ says in one hadith, it really highlights this, that one gives for the sake of Allah, one gives in charity to the poor, one man frees a slave, and one man spends on his family. The Prophet ﷺ said, the best wealth is the one spent on the family. And more than money, my dear brothers, as we mentioned through the course of the Bayaan, time is very, very important. Spending time with your children is very important. I'm going to tell you a waqiyah from Bradford. A waqiyah that took place in Bradford. It's not Baghdad, it's not Brady Sharif, it's not miles away. It's not miles and miles away, it's not 500 years ago. It's 2 months ago before Ramadan. And this is very inspiring to parents. The parents out there who have got young kids, we should learn from this story. A young girl became Hafiz of the Quran. She became Hafiz of the Quran at the age of 7 years old, 2 months before Ramadan. This is not the impressive thing. We hear this all the time. 7-year-old became Hafizah, 7-year-old became Hafiz, 8-year-old, 9-year-old. This is the karamat of the Quran. What's really impressive about this story is that the girl's mother became Hafizah on the same day. How is this possible? That every day in the morning, 1 hour before school, she would wake her up, and together with shauq, with excitement, they would learn the same sabak. They both became Hafiz on the same day. My dear Islam brothers, the message of this is, actions speak louder than words. Telling your kid to wake up and learn his sabak in the morning while you stay asleep, this is not going to work. This woman gave her time. Today she's a Hafizah at 7. We must learn from this. And don't ever think that investing time into your children will go to waste. This will never go to waste. Often we're guilty of, if we don't see the fruits of our labor, we're not interested. If we do not see the result, we're not interested. We think that time, that effort is a waste of time. Well, that's not the truth. You give effort today, you educate them, you give them a good Islamic upbringing, this will benefit you. Whether if it benefits you when you're in your grave, or whether if it benefits your children. If you don't see the benefit in your children's lives, maybe the education you've given them will benefit them when they bring their children up. So it may be your grandchildren that benefit. It may be their children. But somewhere along the line, the education that you give your children, it will benefit. And you can look into Islamic history for this. Look anywhere in Islamic history for this. Sayyidina Junaid Baghdadi, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, he was a great wali of his time. He was very inspiring, very educated individual. He had an experience in his life, and from there he became a great wali. But Sayyidina Junaid Baghdadi was one of many individuals at that time in Baghdad Sharif. In the city of Baghdad, he spread knowledge. And the scholars say this is as though the ground was being prepared, the seeds were being planted. And when these seeds were watered for hundreds of years, 200 years later, many more scholars came through the Faizan of Junaid Baghdadi. And when these scholars came, there was one that stood out, Imam Ghazali. Imam Ghazali came 200 years, according to some narrations, after Junaid Baghdadi. And this plant was watered through efforts of these buzurg, these elders who gave time to their children, who spent wealth on their children, who sent them to study. And when the plant was being watered, Imam Ghazali spread his fairs. And 300 years after that, the flower was able to flourish. And who came? Sayyidina Shaykh Abdul Qadir Jilani. This didn't happen overnight. This was a long process. Giving tarbiyat, giving a good upbringing, giving knowledge to your children. Look at this through history. 500 years apart, Sayyidina Junaid Baghdadi played a part in the greatness of Shaykh Abdul Qadir Jilani. So did Imam Ghazali. And there's no, it's a miracle that today, in this country, people like us sitting in here today, who don't know the language of Shaykh Abdul Qadir Jilani, we don't know the language of Imam Ghazali, we don't know the language of Junaid Baghdadi, but yet we still say Qadri kar, Qadri rak, or Qadriyo mein utha. This is Faizan. This is their teachings. This is the tarbiyat that was given to them by their forefathers. More recently, you can look at the life of Sayyidi Ala Hazrat, and time is very short, so I'm trying to keep it concise. Look at the life of Sayyidi Ala Hazrat recently, within the last few months. Taj Sharia Mufti Akhtar Raza Khan, he passed away. Reports say that up to 2 million people attended his funeral. In this day and age, shows a person who had 2 million people have attended his funeral. Shows an individual in the last 5 years. Sayyidi Ala Hazrat's grandson. His father was Mufti Azam Hind, a great scholar of his time. His father was Sayyidi Ala Hazrat, a great inspiration of his time. Sayyidi Ala Hazrat's father was also a scholar. You know, what do we learn from this? That children are influenced by the decisions of their parents. Children are influenced by the upbringing of their parents. And you can use worldly examples for this. You know, look at footballers. Footballers, the children become footballers. Cricketers, the children become cricketers. Boxers, the children become boxers. Whatever you want to take your kids towards, it's up to you. Whatever you teach them, that's what they're going to follow. And we have to lead by example, my dear Islam, with this. You know, actions speak louder than words. Take that away from here today. You know, we need to worry if we're living in a time when kids are getting taken to the barbers at the age of 3, 4 and 5 years old, and they're coming out with zigzags in their head. The child is not asking for this hairstyle. So really, when we're giving them that hairstyle at that age, at 4, 5, 6 years old, when they can barely talk, when they're going to come home at 12 or 13 years old and they're going to want to pierce their ears and put earrings in and put